And welcome back to another episode of Across the Board. I'm your host, Kenneth Richardson.
I'm Khalid Gray.
And I'm Jared Robinson.
And today we have an action-packed episode all over the SWAC, MEAC, and the HBCU Classic, just to see our picks and what we believe is going to happen. We have a lot, and I know Jared is excited, and I know Khalid is excited, so let's get straight into it.
So, really, when we talk about what's going on in the SWAC right now, I mean, it's the final two games of the season for most teams. Prairie View specifically, we have a chance to come back and be able to participate in this year's SWAC championship, but a lot of things have to go on. Let's talk about the positive first. Right now, we're on a 3-game win streak. Our most recent win coming from FAMU. It was a really highly intensive and extreme game. The game was amazing.
We were the underdog, too.
We were the underdog. ESPN did not project us to win. They never do. But that's something for a lot later. But point is, we have a lot of variables, however, that are going to impact if we are able to be in attendance for the SWAC championship and to be able to play for one. So, off rip, we have to play Alcorn. We play Alcorn tomorrow. We play Alcorn tomorrow, so November 16th. Be out there.
Please support.
And then we also have Alabama State as well as our final game. Two very big opportunities are going to allow us, when we win these two games, will put us in amazing contention to be able to play in the SWAC. However, Southern is our only. I think it's either Texas Southern has to lose, or is it Southern that has to lose?
Southern University.
Southern University has to lose both games, meaning that they have to end their season off, and it's a big chance that it could not happen as well. But they have to lose both games for us to be able to play in the SWAC. So going into this question, what do you guys think needs to happen overall? Like, what is your guys' opinion on what needs to happen, the variables and things of that nature?
Yeah, so seeing that we're talking about the SWAC, I think this whole episode right now is about the shifting tides in the SWAC, actually. We see Bama State coming back. They're number 2 in the East right now. Prairie View is now bumped up to number 3 in the West. Alcorn is currently sitting number 2 in the West. So I think that when you talk about the SWAC and who's going to make it to the championship, it's going to be a little bit of luck. We got 4 quarters of football. We can have a lot of fumbles. You can have QBs go down. You can have running backs tear a hamstring. I'm not saying that I don't want to see any of that happen. I want to see everyone make the entire game. But injuries happen. People get sick. Right? So with a little bit of luck, Prairie View really does have a really good chance. All we have to do is I'm not going to say all we have to do. We need to beat Alcorn this weekend. We need to see Southern lose against Pine Bluff. And going into next week, we just got to keep the momentum. Going to Bama State, Prairie View already does not play well away from home. We're on a 3-game win streak, but let me remind you that 2 of those games were here at home.
And one of them was homecoming.
And one of them was our homecoming game. So these boys have been turned up for a little bit, right? So saying all of that, I think it really is just going to be a little bit of luck. The Prairie View Panthers need to come out and support against Alcorn this weekend, make us have a 4-game win streak going into our game against Bama State on the road.
I definitely agree with you. Definitely when I would say, like, with the way we've been playing, it's just been actually, like, it's been amazing. I know those games have been very big games, both where a lot of people were in the crowd, and that's just simply how I can say it. You have our homecoming game, the game before that, or not a game before that, a homecoming game. Then we played Mississippi Valley State. That was a close game away, and then we end up coming back, blowing out FAMU. So it's just showing how they have a boost of energy playing at home, and I feel like that plays into a big part. But with the win this weekend at Alcorn State, that will obviously move us second up into the SWAC, and it would just be having us sit behind Southern. Now, Southern does have a tough schedule. So besides them playing UAPB, they also have the Bayou Classic, which is a big game, and it's going to be very jam-packed in the Superdome. It's going to be a very, very big game and just very high action and action-packed. The reason why I feel like Southern won't win these 2 games is because simply of how they played the past weekend against Bethune-Cookman. Now, no disrespect to Bethune-Cookman or anything like that. They are a solid team, but they aren't a great team.
They're not a championship.
They're not a championship team like Southern. They're not a championship team like Southern. And for them to compete with them all the way through 5 overtimes, all the way just for it to come down to the wire on a lucky score from Southern, I just feel like Southern they're losing that mojo they have, you know? And it's just simple as that, because I feel like they're a great team. They're a great team, and everything about it is going to be good. But I do also want to talk about, even if we do make the SWAC championship, let's start talking about those teams that we are playing against. And it's a clear-cut number 1 who we're going to play against. It's no surprise. It's the Dion Less Jackson State.
And to talk about the Jackson State team themselves, they're on a 6-game win streak, and that's 6-0 in conference play. This team is on a roll. And before we even went live,
only loss coming from Miami.
And to kind of talk about something that we mentioned before we went live was the fact that these are people that Dion had transferred in and stayed after he left and went to Colorado. So this is still a Dion kind of team, but without Dion as the head of the ship. So when you think about just how much experience this Jackson State team has, and now that they're able to find that chemistry and find what's working right now and still continue that streak on later into their season, it's a scary sight for anybody that has to play this team, whether it be in their area of the SWAC, or when it comes to championship time. So do you think there will be any chinks in the armor when it comes to like playing the Jackson State team?
I really do. I mean, Jackson State this week, they're playing away at the new Alabama State stadium. They're 2-2 away, and they are 5-0 at home. So Jackson State can be beat. They can't be beat in their own house. I mean, I think that's evident. Back when they were Dion, they had another undefeated season. So Shador Sanders was breaking records in the SWAC. They're an amazing team. Like you said, they have a lot of chemistry. They know how to play together, but being 2-2 away, that's a 50-50 shot with Bama State right there. So to me, Jackson State can be beat. It's just a matter of we are in week 12 right now of the season. Man, these boys are tired. It's been a long season. Not only the boys, but the trainers, the coaches. So let's see what happens when they go down there to Bama State, because I know Bama State is going to bring a fight.
Of course.
Definitely. I feel like Bama State, even when we played them last year, to be exact, when we played them here, I remember watching that game. I was like, at halftime, I'm like, come on now, we cannot blow this win, because it was really close. We already knew that we had to win that game out just to win the Western Division, to even have a competition at the SWAC championship. And I feel like Bama State, they're a team that's just like really down and dirty. Like, they'll get to it in that second half of the season when everybody has woken up. It's been a lot of arguments in that locker room, and it happens when you lose. And I feel like that's just what happens when they turn up, because watching how they played last year, their quarterback played an amazing game. I think he went 28 for 35 passing, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and they lost the game by 7. So that told me everything I needed to know, that this is still a dangerous team. They just don't have the defensive pieces all the way there. And I feel like they really worked on that this past season, and like they can stop them. With Jackson State coming into the house, it's simply how you said it, how FAMU tries to come here. Walk in your trap, take over your trap. That's exactly what Jackson State mindset is coming to Alabama and to play them. And I just feel Alabama State has to win.
And before we move on from that, let's talk one more time about the FAMU versus PVAMU game. ESPN had us predicted not only to lose, but to get stomped. They were predicting FAMU to be able to come back and contest against Jackson State in the East for the SWAC championship. Their playoff run is over now.
It's over.
It's non-existent. And I think what it really shows, and I want to push the point like we've been saying this entire time, it's about the shifting tides in the SWAC. These are not the same teams that they were back in September and how they are in November. We didn't even talk about Prairie View A&M back in September because we didn't even think that they had a chance for a playoff run. And now we're talking about them possibly beating Alcorn, Southern losing, and now playoff is going to be contesting to have the name of the Western championship for the SWAC, be playing in the SWAC championship, and then maybe even to go on and play against the MEAC. Man, these are not the same teams that we saw back in September. These teams have gone through so much development over the course of these 12 weeks in the season so far.
And to kind of touch on what y'all mentioned before, the fatigue is real. And I feel like a lot of teams, they enter this kind of fatigue, and I think you were talking about the Alabama State team and how they're a very excellent team when it comes to being at home. However, when you look at their away record and when you look at their record, even at home, though it is positive, it's only about 3 games to 2 wins. 3 games, 1 to about 2 losses, meaning that even when they're at home, they're still susceptible to losing. And when you think about the Jackson State team, yes, when they go, they can win away, but they also are extremely dominant at home. But it does talk about their level of skill when it comes down to being undefeated at home and undefeated right now in conference play. So it's not the fact of, I think when we think about just how many times they've lost and they've lost away, it still isn't something that we should bank on completely, because we've seen this team be an offensive and defensive juggernaut at times and are dominating the SWAC right now. And Alabama State, to be fair, have not shown that same level of intensity both at home and away, because even at away, yes, they've won games away, but they've also lost games away. And those losses are bad losses.
Yeah.
Even when at home, they've been dominated at home as well. So even though Jackson State is coming into Alabama State's territory, this still is a toss-up game, especially since this Jackson State team hasn't really felt that ending season fatigue.
No one can touch
You know what I
them.
mean?
That's what they feel.
You know, and then when you talk about the west part of the SWAC, you have Prairie View, and then you have other teams in the SWAC in our division that are still trying to either maintain their success early on in the season, or they're like Prairie View, who have found their second, third, fourth, fifth leg of energy coming towards the end of the season. So I think right now everybody's mindset is, let's prepare for this Jackson State team.
Yeah.
Because reality, every team coming out of our division is not worried. Let me not say worried. Their calendar right now is, I need to win these 2 games, and I need to make sure that I'm ready for this Jackson State defense and this offense that is still nurtured by Dion, even if he's not here. You know what I mean? So I get on the fact that I understand the fact of these are very crucial moments in the SWAC right now, especially with so much at stake. So another question I have for you guys, when it comes down to the wire, what do you think is going to be important for Prairie View as they take on these next 2 opponents, Alabama State and, if I'm not mistaken, Alcorn and Alabama State? What do you think is like the emphasis that needs to happen going into these games?
Definitely the mentality. It just has to be, it's a respect thing at this point. And honestly, with the games that we have left, we have 1 more home game, 1 more away game. So definitely I want everybody to come out and support tomorrow. Please come out and support. Come support the seniors and everything. That will be their last home game. So just to come out and support would be great. But what I feel like they have to do is just stay poised and stay and persevere through everything that happens. Injuries, weather, it doesn't matter. Like, you know what has to be done. And they're trying to, what a lot of players on this team is trying to do, they're trying to get back to the SWAC championship.
Yes.
We got embarrassed last year, honestly, it's just how it happened. And I feel like that is what they're trying to live with. Yes, we had early faults in the season, losing to Texas Southern at a home opener. That's hard. Losing to Southern in a comeback loss, that's hard. It's a lot of games that we had this season, but they've finally woken up and have channeled that inner energy in them. So I feel like what they have to do for these next 2 games is just honestly play poised. We've had a great offense. James Burns is cooking up. Jaden Johnson is doing great. Shamar Savage is still who he is. Fred Stokes is still who he is.
Can't forget about the defense.
Can't forget about the defense at all.
You can't forget about the people that are, like, there's people that are key defensive players. We had one of them, Fred Stokes Jr., come into the studio and we were able to interview him. It was an amazing experience. But there's so many juggernauts on that offense and that defense. Specifically, we need to talk about Jaden Johnson being now the starting quarterback for the Panthers, and he's produced immediately as he's given these starting minutes. I mean, it's an amazing thing to think when he has that connection with both his receivers, also McDowell being his main running back, and I'm forgetting the other guy's name on Fatline, but he's an amazing running back as well. So when they run that formation and they're able to have so many options, it causes a lot of havoc for defenses to be able to understand and make the right reads, which is why we have a McDowell trucking 2 people like we saw in the FAMU game, or we see a 70-yard touchdown with Jaden Johnson connecting with his receivers. You know what I mean? So, and then talking about the defense, I feel like when it comes down to Alcorn, when you look at their last 2 games, they won against Texas Southern. That's their most recent win. However, there's 2 losses that are pivotal, and they did not perform well, especially when it came down to their offense. Their defense, we're gonna have to see come game time what it does. But when it comes to their offense, they're able to be shut down. And we happen to blitz a lot. But not only do we blitz, we also allow for ourselves to have people to back the line and are able to stay with their receivers. So when you think about just how versatile this offense could be, we also got to mention that Prairie View's defense is elite. Especially when it's at the head, where you have people like Fred Stokes, Ayton Jones, and, you know, Freddie Bird as your safety or your corner. I mean, we have so many options on defense to stop the drive.
You know, going off of that, you know, I'm glad that you're talking about the defense, because what I want to say is momentum. That's what's going to put Prairie View in the SWAC championship game. It's not about the big plays. It is about doing all the small things right. Making sure that every time we blitz with full power. Making sure that every time that we line up on defense, our corners are like that we're not jumping the line. That we don't have any false starts on offense. We can't afford any small mistakes. It is about discipline, keeping the momentum, like Kenny said, staying poised, making sure that we keep our egos at check. Because FAMU, the fight happened after the game. They lost their poop after the game, right? So we got to make sure that we can stay maintained and focused during this entire time. After we win versus Alcorn, we got to pack it up and we got to bring it to Bama State. We can't think about just this one win. We got to think about the bigger goal. The bigger goal is the SWAC championship. How do you get to the SWAC championship? Staying disciplined, making sure that you do all of the small things right.
And primarily just controlling what you can control, which these 2 wins, they're going to be very important for this Panther defense and this Panther offense, really this Panther team. So, yeah. But that'll wrap up today's Across the Board episode. I mean, we had a lot of information I mean, how do you guys, and this is the last question, but like, how do you guys feel about tomorrow's game?
Man, I'm excited. I'm truly excited, definitely from, it all starts, like I told you at the beginning when it came to homecoming that week, it all starts from the Panther Walk. It don't even start from the Panther Walk, it starts right now.
Right.
It starts that mentality right now, that 24-hour rule, that's what I stand by and I will always stand by. And that 24-hour rule just means, what are you doing to prepare yourself for that game, and what do you do to prepare to win after that game?
Yeah, and Panthers, we need you.
Need your
like,
support.
you guys got to be at this game. The band, we need you guys loud and proud. We need everyone not to just stay for the game, but stay through the entire game. We play so well at home, and we need to just make sure that we keep this same energy, whether it be on the field or from us, the Panthers, being out there and supporting our Panthers. That's what we need. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, fellas, I'm a little bit worried about this Alcorn game. I'll be just a little bit worried. They have
I'm
great.
not really worried, man. We beat Florida.
They're a great team.
Blowout.
They're a great team. So just looking at stats, I'm kind of giving an ESPN treatment right now. We're once again the underdog. So PVAMU, y'all got to come out. Y'all got to bring the energy. You got to support your Panthers.
And let's extend this win streak to 5.
And honestly, before I call it all, I just want to tell ESPN, keep putting us at the underdog. Yeah, it look like we're going to keep winning. It look like we're going to keep winning at that point. So this has been another episode of Across the Board. I'm your host, Kenneth Richardson.
I'm Khalid Gray.
And I'm Jared Robinson.
And we'll see you guys later on the next episode.